Hello everybody, too poor to afford a real race car. Welcome back to the Gamer Muscle YouTube channel. In today's video, we're jumping into Project Cars 2 with the Oculus Rift virtual reality headset, and that's because Bandai Namco have been kind enough to give us press access to Project Cars 2, which of course isn't out yet, still in development, and should be arriving on store shelves round about September time. Crucially though, despite the game still being in development, it's very clear that VR has been a priority for Slightly Mad Studios, and you notice from the moment you launch the game, should you have a virtual reality headset plugged in, either the HTC Vive or the Oculus Rift, you get tick boxes that let you choose if you're going to use OpenVR or the Oculus VR drivers. Following on from that, the game loads up into your VR headset on a projector screen in front of you at a very nice distance to make it comfortable but also easy for you to select all the options. And yes, everything's actually been catered for properly. It's not a sort of hack job with the VR as we found with Project Cars 1 and many other titles previously that obviously existed before VR was the buzz that it is now. Outside of the whole game working in VR, launching in VR properly, they've also included inside the game not only a VR menu that lets you choose the VR culling plane and when the headset centers itself, if it does automatically, but rather nicely there's also the ability to choose the super sampling level up to 2.0 from within the game itself, as well as a whole bunch of other options, with many of them also being able to be done when you're actually at the circuit. So when it comes to tweaking things, making sure you're hitting a good frame rate or choosing certain visual effects like lens flares, dirt on your visor, stuff that doesn't, in my opinion, work well in VR, you can turn most of that off at the track on the fly if it annoys you or not. It's just really nicely done, really fluid, and it's not just really VR. The actual menu systems for Project Cars 2 are really well designed, not just for the graphics, we've been able to change stuff on the fly whilst you're actually at the track, but also just how quick it is to navigate through the game menus, be that to change settings, or if you wanted to load up a different type of event. When it comes to custom races, you can save, for example, a favourite combo at a various circuit with all its various settings, and then just load it back up when you want to use it. But even if you do want to quickly change a race, so you've got a specific car on a specific track with certain weather, given how many options there are, and there are a lot because of all the dynamic day and weather options in this game, and just the sheer amount of cars and tracks and everything, given that amount of content, they've done a very good job of making it quick and easy to alter settings, and then quick and easy to load those settings back up again in the future. So those of you that actually have a life outside of computer games, you know, you can load up the game and get in and start playing. And where of course that's beneficial for those of us that stick screens 2 centimeters away from our eyes, is that when you are using VR, it's just nice to be able to get into the game and not have to fiddle too much. Partly because you've already fiddled getting the headset on and everything else that's associated with VR. So it's really good that they thought that through, and the actual core functionality of the title seems pretty damn decent to me at this point in time. Now obviously, as I say, this is a early access build of the game. I don't think it's even a beta at the moment. I don't know the exact build number that the press version is, so I can't say specifics in terms of performance, but what I will say is that it does seem to run better than Project Cars 1 did in virtual reality, and most importantly for VR, I'm not noticing any sort of delayed head tracking or that sort of weird smoothing, which was a problem I had with Project Cars 1. They've clearly, as I say, thought about VR this time and implemented it spot on. Also stuff like the actual the depth of the objects, the three-dimensionality, the IPD settings and everything, the scale of everything all seems spot on as well, and there's no fiddling needed, though the drivers in this do appear slightly fatter than drivers in other titles. So I think Slightly Mad Studios have been feeding their drivers, or maybe your model is based on Ben Collins, and what with him not, you know, having to work as hard now, I think he does some stunt driver jobs. Maybe he's eaten too many pies, and as a result, we now have a bit bigger player models in the game. Which for me just makes it more immersive, because I myself have maybe indulged in too many pies as well. So it's nice to have an in-game model that doesn't make me feel as if I need to go on a 3-month diet for a change. Now, of course, I haven't said it yet because, you know, it's the default thing with VR, but it has to be said in every VR video, because maybe some people are watching this that have never seen any of our videos before. Why haven't you subscribed? Click the subscribe button now. The simple fact is, you know, driving simulators and VR, so long as you aren't the type of person that will vomit all over the place, are absolutely phenomenal as a combination. And playing this, I did play it briefly in 2D to get everything set up initially. You know, it's alright in 2D, and driving sims are still fun in 2D, especially if you've got a good setup on your rig and everything. But putting it in VR and actually feeling like you're sat in the car just totally takes to another level. And let's face it, when it comes to British weather simulators, Project Cars 2 and Project Cars 1 are pretty much up there. I mean, I think X-Plane 11 as well, that's pretty good at the old British weather simulation at high altitude. But when it comes to ground level British weather simulation, combined with virtual reality, Project Cars 2 does a pretty bloody good job. Even with this race here, what's especially nice is all I had was the sun setting, and I think I set it to go slightly mildly cloudy. But as I say, British weather simulator, don't even get rain most of the time, it's just mildly cloudy, giving you a subtle sense of underlying depression to your day-to-day life. But seeing the change from the start of the race with the sun up and then the sun going down, and how the cars pick up the lighting from the sun as it's doing its sunset business, and you get these little glistens and highlights and specular pickups that are not there all the time. They're only there when the sun's at the right angle to cause it. It's just really nice visually and makes it a little bit more stimulating than having the exact same conditions all the time. And it's really nice to see that not only with Project Cars 2, but, you know, iRacing has started to do full dynamic weather, and you're seeing it with other titles as well. I think Race Room, they've got different times of day at least. But it's starting to become more and more the norm, and we're moving away from tracks being exactly the same all the time. Strangely, back in sort of 2000s, it was actually quite common for driving simulators and driving racing games to have different weather in different times of day. Then we kind of moved away from it, and now we're going back to it. So all things are just it all comes around in the end. But back onto the core subject of the virtual reality. Other things of note, I don't think the mirrors have the you know, the real-time mirror movement. So like in iRacing, when you move your head, the mirrors move corresponding to it like real mirrors. I haven't noticed it to be that much of a problem, and I haven't really felt it's that much of an issue with other simulators that don't have it. It's a really nice immersive thing to have. It's in iRacing and Live for Speed. But so long as the mirrors have a high enough field of view, which they do in Project Cars 2, and you can set it in Assetto Corsa, for example, I don't find it a problem. But you know, it would be a nice addition. Maybe they'll fit that in before the game goes gold. You can, of course, place some of the UI elements and HUD elements on the screen where you like, just as you could in Project Cars 1. I'm not sure if they're, you know, doing more development on that. I found that the actual UI elements were quite nicely placed. They're a little bit small by default. I haven't fiddled with them, but you know, the stuff like the actual delta time when you're improving your splits, for example, that's placed really nicely at a really nice, comfortable distance for you to be able to see it clearly, for it to not get in the way of your driving. But for it to be comfortable in VR. Again, it's definitely apparent that this time out, SMS looked at VR and actually approached it with VR in mind. It's sensibly implemented certain aspects into the game. So, yeah, that's pretty much most of what I can glean at this point in time when it comes to the VR support in Project Cars 2. I hope that was helpful for you guys. I know it's the kind of stuff that I would personally like to know if I didn't have access to the press version of the game. As I said at the beginning of the video, I'm using the Oculus Rift virtual reality headset for this video, which is currently the headset I would recommend to buy, specifically if you're doing driving and flight simulator games primarily. I'll put an Amazon affiliate link in the video description, so if you want to get one, get it through that link and I'll be able to eat. That's always a bonus. If you want to know more about the equipment we're using, it's all listed in the video description. But there you go, that's pretty much it. I hope the video was interesting for you guys. As I say, don't forget to click the subscribe button, and likey, dislikey. Feel free to ask any questions. I'll answer any questions that I can and defer any questions that I can't. But until the next videos, guys, goodbye.